programa Both Sides of the Story, ambos lados de la historia. Nunca vamos a tomar su audiencia por sentado porque sabemos que ustedes tienen otras opciones. Y esta es la razón por la cual jamás olvidamos darle las gracias por elegir Both Sides of the Story, ambos lados de la historia, de lunes a viernes desde las 2 hasta las 5 de la tarde, aquí en Power 106 FM. La misión continúa para educar, capacitar, iluminar y estimular el espíritu empresarial. Bienvenidos.
Somebody please get me right now.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
2:15.
Listen to the story of the Jamaican diaspora on Diaspora Check-In every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. during Both Sides of the Story with host Dervan Malcolm, the story of Jamaicans at home and abroad. That's Diaspora Check-In every Wednesday during Both Sides of the Story, brought to you by GK Western Union. Receive money directly into your bank account today.
We'll see me through. I gotta tell you, all alone.
C'est jeudi, le 18 mars 2021, et nous vous saluons tous qui nous écoutent, où que vous soyez dans le monde. Nous sommes reconnaissants du don de la vie ainsi que du privilège d'être à votre service pour une nouvelle édition de votre programme Both Sides of the Story, le pour et le contre. Nous ne considérons pas votre fidélité comme l'un de ceux parce que nous savons que vous avez l'embarras du choix. C'est pourquoi nous n'oublions jamais de vous remercier de choisir d'écouter Both Sides of the Story, le pour et le contre, du lundi au vendredi de 2h à 5h de l'après-midi sur notre antenne Power 106 FM. Nous continuons notre mission d'éduquer, d'habiliter, d'éclairer et d'encourager l'esprit d'entreprise. Bienvenue.
One more thing, I dream of home, far beyond the sea.
All we're saying is it's Thursday, the 18th of March, 2021, and we greet you well, wherever in the world you are listening to us right now. We remain eternally grateful for the gift of life and the privilege to serve you on yet another edition of your program, Both Sides of the Story. We don't ever take your listenership for granted because we know you have choices, and that's why we never ever forget to remember to say thanks for choosing to listen to Both Sides of the Story, Monday to Friday, 2 to 5, right here on Power 106 FM. The mission continues to educate, empower, enlighten, and encourage entrepreneurship. Welcome.
We'll see me through. Oh, help me somebody. Help me somebody. Somebody please get me right now. I've got a hard road to travel, the rough way to go. Said it's a hard road to travel, the rough way to go. But I can't turn back. My heart is fixed, my mind's made up. No, I'll never stop in my faith. We'll see me through. I gotta tell you, your love. Call my very own. Oh, the river gets deeper.
Good afternoon to those of you listening to us on 106.1, 106.3, 106.5, 106.7, and 106.9. From Morant Point to Negril Point, from the Goat Islands to Galena Point. This is Power 106 FM, serving Jamaica and the diaspora. Hello to those tuned in via the Power 106 FM app, which you would have downloaded from the App Store or the Google Play Store, depending on the nature of your device. Downloading is free, listening is free, whenever, wherever. Thank you for logging on to the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. Subscribers to onespotmedia.com also have access to both sides of the story in particular and Power 106 FM in general. We thank you if you've found other ways and means of listening to both sides of the story here on Power 106 FM. There are two designated numbers for you to dial if you wish to listen to Power 106 FM, apart from the other options open to you. If you prefer to dial a number to listen to Power 106 FM, you have a choice. And in fact, specifically for the United States and the United Kingdom. Those in the United States who wish to dial a number to listen to Power 106 FM can call 631 359 8281. 631 359 8281. If you're in the United Kingdom and you wish to dial a number to listen to both sides of the story here on Power 106 FM, your number is 0330-606-0953. 0330-606-0953. And we're all over social media: Facebook, Twitter, Skype, Instagram, LinkedIn, BBM, Yahoo Messenger, Tango, WhatsApp, Snapchat. In fact, we're streaming live video on the Dervan Malcolm Facebook page and affiliated pages. If you're not there yet, log on to Facebook. In the search box atop the page, type DERVANMALCOLM, and you'll be able to not just see but hear, or not just hear but see what's happening here on your program, both sides of the story, Power 106 FM. We're taking your calls on 87. Let's not forget YouTube. Sorry, YouTube, as we have been saying to you, our viewers on YouTube, because we have less than 1,000 subscribers to the Dervan Malcolm YouTube channel. Never mind the fact that we have about 20,000 followers on Facebook. We, up to this point, haven't gotten to 1,000 subscribers to the Dervan Malcolm YouTube channel. Not that we've been doing any significant marketing, apart from just sharing the information with you through the program. And that's why those of you who would normally go to YouTube would not have seen us yesterday afternoon, because it's a little cumbersome to manipulate on an outside broadcast where you're moving about. Cumbersome if you have to use a laptop or a tablet, and worse yet, a PC. It is more practical to have a smartphone, for example, broadcasting the events happening on location. But in order for us to go live from our smartphone to YouTube, we would have to have at least 1,000 subscribers. But we're not there yet. In the meantime, we encourage you, if you want to be able to travel with us when we go on the road, as we did yesterday, broadcasting from Tom Redcombe Library. If you want to travel with us, you'll have to help us to get the numbers up to 1,000, at least 1,000. And that will allow us to be able to take you with us when we're on the road. So that's the idea. and we look forward. So far, let's see what's the count now in terms of subscribers. 462. That's it. 462 subscribers. We need to get to 1,000, which would allow us to go live on YouTube from a smartphone. We, in the meantime, we encourage you to continue to visit our Facebook page to, uh, in instances where we're not in studio. But generally speaking, once we're in studio, we're on YouTube until things change. And uh, when that happens, we encourage you to go to the YouTube website, and you should see this video trending if you do so while the program is on. And if you're not seeing the program trending, then in the YouTube search box, type DERVANMALCOLM, and you will be able to watch both sides of the story here on Power 106 FM via YouTube. That's where we're streaming right now, in addition to being live on Facebook. We look forward to your full participation. The numbers to call: 876-922-4112 to 5. 876-922-4112 to 5. The text line is the same as the WhatsApp number, which means you can not only send us your text messages, but also your WhatsApp messages, your voice notes, and you can dial direct on WhatsApp. You can call us, you can place a WhatsApp call to us. And there are those who call the number directly, like a straight line to us right here in the studio. That's fine. The number is 876-365-3346. 876-365-3346. And we are just about, we have some messages to clear already. And let's see if we can do that right now, as we love to do. We love to greet you, our faithful listeners all over the globe. As we always say at the start of the program, we know you have choices, multiple choices. And recognizing that, we want to make sure that we are meeting your needs as best as possible. Dainty Walker, good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us. Ivy Liz May says, the hard road to travel. Yes, indeed. That's the theme song this afternoon. We started out this afternoon with a poem that we recite. We have recited in the past, and we recite from time to time on this program. It's called "It Couldn't Be Done" by Edgar Albert Guest. It Couldn't Be Done by Edgar Albert Guest. And combined that with Jimmy Cliff's A Hard Road to Travel. And it's still a hard road to travel as far as COVID-19 is concerned. We can try our best to not think about it too much, to not watch too much of the news or read too much in the papers, but we're surrounded. We're surrounded by COVID-19 and its attendant issues. And let's just not take on more than we can manage. Or if we feel better not taking on any of it, just let it go. But we can't escape it. It's everywhere, not least of all right here in Jamaica. But let's try to manage our mental health so that we're not overwhelmed. And if we're feeling overwhelmed or feeling as if we're not going to manage, then let's seek help. Let's seek help. And those of us who are able to help, those of us who know what the signs are what to look out for, please help. Let's do our best to keep as many of our people alive as possible. That's the idea. Let's do all we can to keep as many of our people as alive as possible in more ways than one. In more ways than one. 638 newly confirmed cases yesterday here in Jamaica. And once again, sadly, we have lost more people to COVID 19, 4 more yesterday. The death toll from COVID 19 in Jamaica is now 511. For what it's worth, 15,615 people have recovered. There are 17,004 active cases, 22,533 people in home quarantine, and a number that we are dreading, and we've been dreading from the outset, is the number of people admitted to hospital. That is close to 400 right now. 398 as at yesterday. 398 people admitted to hospital because of COVID 19. 28 of those patients are moderately ill and 34 are critically ill. Let's continue to do all we can for whomever we can to keep the numbers down, to save lives, wearing our masks, practicing physical distance of at least 6 feet, washing and sanitizing our hands as often as possible, and just do the best we can under the circumstances. Those of us who are, let's take the break.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
2:30.
The biggest gaming experience is here, with over 100 chances to win millions of dollars in cash prizes every week. Better odds and bigger payouts per game every day. Get your tickets and millions of dollars can be yours. Big Pot, Super 5, and Dream 6. Lucky Play. Win more money. 18 years or older. Visit agent locations island-wide.
Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Hey, you see these days, it's good to get straight to the point. Quick and easy. That's why Western Union gives you another way to receive money straight to your bank account with Western Union's direct-to-bank money transfer. Visit a Western Union agent location and sign up now. And tell your family and friends to send your next Western Union money transfer directly to your bank account in Jamaica. It's easy. Visit a Western Union location or call our call center at 876-926-2454. Sign up today to receive a money transfer directly to your bank account with ease with Western Union. Moving money for better.
Healthy habits start with washing your hands several times daily with soap and water. If soap is not available, then use Benjamin's hand sanitizer and use Benjamin's rubbing alcohol for frequently touched surfaces to help prevent the spread of germs and viruses. Don't touch your face with your hands or rub your eyes. Any virus on your hands can make you sick, so wash your hands frequently. Your health is in your hands. Stay healthy with Benjamin's, a trusted name for over a century.
Both sides of the story.
Tune in this and every Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. for Kids Connect during Both Sides of the Story with host Dervan Malcolm to join in a series of discussions on building a strong relationship with your child. We invite children to call in and voice their concerns. This broadcast is brought to you by the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA. Every child deserves protection. Margins Pharmacy and Community Meds Pharmacy. That's a live broadcast of Kids Connect during Both Sides of the Story with host Dervan Malcolm at 3:30 p.m. this and every Tuesday, right here on Power 106 FM.
Sides of the story.
Listen to the story of the Jamaican diaspora on Diaspora Check-In every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. during Both Sides of the Story with host Dervan Malcolm, the story of Jamaicans at home and abroad. That's Diaspora Check-In every Wednesday during Both Sides of the Story, brought to you by GK Western Union. Receive money directly into your bank account today.
The trouble and the rough way to go. But I can't turn back. My heart is fixed, my mind's made up. No, I'll never stop in my faith. will see me through. Oh, help me somebody, yeah. Help me somebody. Somebody please help me right now.
Thanks a lot for staying here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. Still live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. Live on your smart devices all over the world. Taking your calls on 876-922-4115. 876-922-4112-5. The email address is both sides 106 at live.com. Both sides 106 at live.com. Let's clear some more of the messages that have been coming in before we give you a quick indication of what's in the news right now. Cherry Henry, good afternoon to you. She says, good afternoon, Mr. Dervan and listeners. I really love that song, Hard Road to Travel. Ivy Liz May, good afternoon to you too. B. Jew in New York, welcome. Inez Campbell Brown in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Reverend MacDonald in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. Ivy Liz May says, and don't listen to the many propaganda COVID-19. COVID-19 is real, but our Jamaican people are stubborn and they are the village doctor and teacher and very disrespectful to heads of government. Thank you for your messages. Let's clear another one here. Oh, we cleared this one already. Let's give you an idea of some of the stories that are trending right now. People over 75 can register for COVID vaccine via One Love hotline. So the story is beginning next Monday. And if you want to check your calendar, Monday is the 22nd of March. So beginning Monday, the 22nd of March, people 75 years and older will be able to register and book appointments for the COVID-19 vaccine by calling the 888 One Love hotline. Once again, beginning Monday, the 22nd of March, people 75 years and older will be able to register and book appointments for the COVID-19 vaccine by calling 888 One Love, the 888 One Love hotline. 888 One Love. Now, for maybe our senior citizens unfamiliar with that kind of dialing detail, One Love, what do they mean? 888 One Love. Right. Well, the letters represent numbers on the keypad that you use to dial. So 888 663 5683. Once again, just in case the One Love component of the hotline doesn't make any sense to you, you want the numbers? Here we go. 888 663 5683. That's 888 663 5683. Hope you got that, senior citizens. That's the hotline. For people 75 years and older, that's the number you'll be able to call starting Monday, the 22nd of March, to book your appointment for the COVID-19 vaccine. And all those people who are planning to pretend as if they're 75, let's just get that out there from now. All those who are planning to 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 pretend that they are 75, it's going to take more than just the phone call, right? Just remember that. And a lot of verification, etc. So don't even try that. Those who might be thinking along those lines. Right, so that's the information from the Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton. He made that announcement during a contract signing with ITEL BPO, which will manage the toll-free line. ITEL BPO, ITEL Business Process Outsourcing, will be managing the toll-free line. Dr. Tufton said the appointments will be made based on the phased implementation policy that was previously announced. Earlier this week, the ministry signed a memorandum of understanding with UNICEF Jamaica and the private sector vaccination initiative for the digital platform so the public can register appointments. So that's according to the minister, 1,700 vials of the AstraZeneca vaccine have been administered since the government began implementing the first of 3 phases vaccination program on March 10. Phase 1 is targeted at vulnerable groups, and this includes healthcare workers, non-health frontline workers, police, army, correctional services, customs, and immigration officers, parliamentarians, people over 60 years old, and institutionalized people. Phase 2, to follow thereafter, will target people deemed essential to economic activity and will entail other public sector workers, hotel workers, the transportation sector, manufacturing sector, banking sector, and the agricultural sector. The general public will be vaccinated in phase 3. The general public will be vaccinated in phase 3. Jamaica has so far received 64,400 doses of vaccines during the past couple of weeks, and the health ministry has advised that it has received notification from the COVAX. That's when you hear COVAX, the term COVAX, that's the COVID-19 Global Access Facility. COVID-19 Global Access Facility, COVAX. That is what is aimed at minimizing the potential of smaller countries, for example, middle income countries and poor countries being left out, while the richer countries get the use up the vaccine. So COVAX was created to ensure there is vaccine equity right across the world. Jamaica, of course, became the first Caribbean country to receive vaccines under the COVAX facility. And still to come from COVAX, so we got 50,000 from India, part of vaccine diplomacy, 50,000 doses from India, 14,400 doses from the COVAX facility, and another batch of 26,800 doses will arrive in the first week of April. That's 1, 2, 3 weeks from now, or just about. So that's the latest with respect to vaccines. Not too far from us in the region, Haiti president declares state of emergency, appeals to UN. President Jovenel Moïse has declared a state of emergency in several areas of the country in an effort to stem the upsurge in crime. A decree adopted by the Council of Ministers said the state of emergency is instituted in gangsterized areas for 1 month, during which certain rights can be suspended in neighborhoods concerned in order to allow the National Police of Haiti to regain control of the situation. We wish Monsieur Moïse and his government all the best in managing the security status of Haiti. Vaccine jabs top 400 million is another story trending. More than 400 million doses of vaccines have been given around the world as of today, actually. As of today, more than 400 million doses of vaccines have been given around the world. One moment, please.
Win more money with Lucky Play Lotteries. Play Big Pot, Super 5, and Dream 6 today. The time by Lucky Play Lottery is
2:45.
Hose Assembly and Supply HAS is the best at what they do. They supply hoses, fittings, and tools. They guarantee they are unbeatable in price and quality combined. Branded by you as the hose and tool boss with the most effective industrial solutions. Come, experience the joy of shopping with the hose boss. Call 876-923-3936 or visit them at 173 Hagley Park Road, 2 Charlesworth Crescent, or Montego Bay Trade Center. HAS would like to thank their customers for over 30 years.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness wishes to advise the public that for the period Sunday, March 14 to Friday, March 19, only healthcare workers and members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, and the Jamaica Defense Force, JDF, cabinet members, parliamentarians, and heads of ministries, departments, and agencies of government who are 60 years and older will be inoculated with the COVID-19 vaccine. The public is reminded that vaccines are being administered according to the approved schedule, and for the safety of all concerned, the ministry is urging people to attend vaccination sites island-wide only after they have received their appointments. The ministry thanks the public for their cooperation. That was a public service announcement from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Listen to the story of the Jamaican diaspora on Diaspora Check-In every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. during both sides of the story with host Dervan Malcolm, the story of Jamaicans at home and abroad. That's Diaspora Check-In every Wednesday during both sides of the story, brought to you by GK Western Union. Receive money directly into your bank account today.
Will see me through. Oh, help me somebody, yeah. Help me somebody. Somebody please get me right now.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Poro 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. So the report coming out of Paris, France, is that more than 400 million doses of vaccines have been given around the world as of today. The story says, in a sign of how the pace is picking up, the last 100 million people vaccinated got their jabs in 11 days. So this is an idea of the pace of vaccination. The last 100 million people vaccinated got their jabs in 11 days. 6 times faster than it took to give the first 100 million. 6 times faster than it took to give the first 100 million. By 11:30 this morning, Jamaica time, at least 402.3 million doses had been administered in more than 158 countries around the world. While rich countries have fared best, vaccination in the poorer countries is at last starting under the free COVAX program. Israel has gone further ahead, we're told. Israel is still leading the race by far, with nearly 3 out of 5 of its population having received at least one dose. Nearly 3 out of every 5 people in Israel has received at least one dose, or have received at least one dose. Around a half of Israeli have received a second dose. The United Kingdom, 38%. The United Arab Emirates, between 35 and 70%. Chile, 28%. The United States, 22%. Bahrain, 22%. And Serbia, 16% by March 12, are also doing well. In terms of pure numbers, the United States is way ahead with 113 million jabs given before China with 65 million as of March 14, India 39 million, and the United Kingdom with 27.6 million. European Union countries have given 54.4 million doses to 8.5% of the community's population, as in the EU community. Poorer countries now benefit. Out of 13 of the poorest countries which have started their vaccination campaigns, 9 started in early March using vaccines delivered for free under the COVAX scheme launched by the World Health Organization, the Gavi Vaccine Alliance, and the CEPI Coalition. Only 0.1% of the doses injected around the world were given in these poor countries, home to 9% of the global population. In contrast, the richest countries, which have 16% of humanity, have had 58% of the doses. More than a quarter of all doses given so far, 28%, were in the United States. AstraZeneca is in the lead. The vaccine developed by AstraZeneca and Oxford University has already been administered in some 100 countries or territories, outshining its competitors. Although low cost, it is being widely used in richer countries such as the United Kingdom and the EU, as well as in poorer countries, thanks to the COVAX scheme. It is also being administered in India, where it is also made. The Swedish-British vaccine has, however, been dogged by problems after blood clots were observed in a number of vaccinated people. But the EU regulator said today that it was not linked to an increased risk of blood clots. Now, where are the jabs being used? The vaccines produced by US German Pfizer BioNTech, which is being used in more than 70 countries, and the American Moderna, used in more than 40 countries, are more expensive and harder to store. They are mainly used in the rich countries. Russia's Sputnik 5 vaccine, in use in more than 20 countries, and China's Sinopharm and Sinovac jabs are used in Sinopharm in 20 countries and Sinovac in a dozen countries, respectively. The American Johnson & Johnson vaccine, the first to require just one dose, has been approved in the US, Canada, and the EU, but has so far only been rolled out in the US and South Africa. So that's your comprehensive vaccine update, except to add that Italy will resume administering AstraZeneca vaccines tomorrow after the EU's drug regulator said it was safe 4 days after Rome suspended its use over fears of side effects. BBC to shift 400 jobs out of London in major shakeup The BBC announced today, that's the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, announced today that it will shift around 400 roles out of London as part of its biggest transformation in decades to better reflect all parts of Britain. The broadcaster, which has been accused by Conservatives of political bias and failing to understand the Brexit vote, is aiming to change the tone of its programs and journalism. In 2011, it moved hundreds of its staff and a number of services to a major new base at Salford near Manchester. But new Director General Tim Davies said he's eager to ramp up the relocations. It comes at a challenging time for the BBC, which is funded by a compulsory subscription fee as it negotiates the fee level and its public funding with the government for the next 5 years from 2022. Meanwhile, a 10-strong panel of independent professionals from broadcasting, production, journalism, and technology has been appointed to help shape the future of UK public service broadcasting. Yeah, it's a changing world, a shifting world, a dynamic world. Not necessarily new. We've been here for a little while, but things have intensified. A proposal now made for sexual harassment to be reported 6 years after. That's another story. IGL says it's working to keep up with demand for oxygen. And JMMB group preference share oversubscribed. PwC, JCC support removal of customs administrative fee. Scotia readies service for customers to open bank accounts online. And happening now in Parliament, the Prime Minister is making his contribution to the budget debate. So we're just trying to bring you up to date with what's happening or not happening. Retired police sergeant encourages former colleagues to get COVID jabs. Russians to compete as neutral athletes again in track. UCC Group launches 3 new subsidiaries, and we'll be speaking with representatives of UCC in a little while from now. JLP councillor Dervan Wood is dead. Jamaica Labour Party JLP councillor for the Ferry Hill division in East Portland, Dervan Wood, has died. Wood died at the University Hospital of the West Indies on Thursday morning, that's this morning, after he was brought there on Wednesday as a result of developing breathing difficulties. He is believed to have been in his 60s. Wood's cause of death is unclear, but it is, well, let's leave it at that for now until we have the official word with respect to cause of death. But condolences to the family, friends, colleagues of the late JLP councillor Dervan Wood. Red Stripe is assessing possible pay gaps between genders. And we'll leave it there for now from that news app. Let's just check quickly the other, just before we take the break. Out of the UK, the BBC is reporting that Atlanta spa shooting suspect charged with murder. EU agency says AstraZeneca is safe and effective. Tanzania's president dies after COVID rumors. Condolences to the people of Tanzania. And let's just check the CNN app quickly to see what's trending on their platform at this time. Biden says US will hit his 100-day vaccine goal early. And the story is Uh, right, here it is. President Joe Biden announced his administration is on track to hit 100 million COVID 19 vaccine doses administered. He said his administration would seek to administer 100 million doses in his first 100 days in office during the transition in December. Friday, that's tomorrow. Tomorrow is Joe Biden's 58th day in office. A couple of your messages to take us to the break. Bernard Farquharson says, top of the day from Detroit, Michigan. Thanks, Mr. Malcolm, for all the updates on trending news of the day. Inez Campbell Brown says, good afternoon, Sir Dervan. Just a question to pass along to the health minister. When will the 14-day quarantine be reduced? And I got both vaccines and would love to come home, but can't come for 2 weeks and have to stay home. What, about 10 days? Right. If we get the opportunity, we'll ask the question, Inez Campbell Brown.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
3 o'clock. Listen to the story of the Jamaican diaspora on Diaspora Check-In every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. during both sides of the story with host Dervan Malcolm, the story of Jamaicans at home and abroad. That's Diaspora Check-In every Wednesday during both sides of the story, brought to you by GK Western Union. Receive money directly into your bank account today.
I've got a hard road to travel, a rough way to go.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. Still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. Just before we go to our guests from UCC, let's clear the other messages. Herman Bowie Bailey says, blessings always, Mr. Malcolm. Good music always. Thank you. Ivy Liz May says, and don't listen. Oh, yes, I read that one already. Thank you very much, Bijou. Bijou says she loves the music. Reverend MacDonald in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada says, good afternoon. Blessings, peace, and love. Yes, indeed. It is a hard road to travel in this world, but God will take us through it all. Reverend MacDonald, Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. One love and peace to you too, Reverend MacDonald in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. You're welcome, Inez Campbell Brown. We'll do our best to get that answer for you. And let's see. Just trying to bring up. Right. A couple of other messages before we bring in our guests. Quickly. Let's go to this one. H. Morgan in Birmingham says, Mr. Malcolm, good afternoon. Hope all is well. I saw in the news where a bottle of the vaccine went missing, a vial of the vaccine. Yes. I have not seen whether it was stolen or just being mislaid. It's still being investigated, H. Morgan in Birmingham. But if it was stolen, that would be very sad, says H. Morgan in Birmingham. We'll come back to your message in a moment, but we have a special feature right now as we say good afternoon and welcome to the president of the University College of the Caribbean and chairman of the UCC Foundation, Professor Dennis Gale. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon from the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean.
Thank you. That's not what we said. Let's see about the university. Okay, now we need to change this. Sorry about that. The University.
Thank you. Of the Commonwealth Caribbean.
The Commonwealth Caribbean. Sorry about that. Right. And also joining us is the Deputy CEO of Spectrum Capital Partners and acting CEO of UCC Real Estate Development Limited, Mr. Richard Kildare. Good
Hi.
afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Dervan. Not bad. I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Thank you so much for joining us here on both sides of the story, Power 106 FM. Well, let's get straight to it and give us the essence of the ethos of the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean. First of all, Professor Dennis Gale, how would you characterize the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean?
Okay, Dervan, thank you so much for your invitation. I'd characterize the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean as Jamaica's largest unaffiliated private higher education institutions dedicated to providing students with world-class educational programs using highly trained, qualified, and motivated local and international faculty members.
And when one studies at the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, how recognized is their accreditation, considering the arrangements that you have in place at the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean?
Very well. So, the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC for short, is one of four institutions that have the honor to be institutionally accredited by the University Council of Jamaica. And this is out of some 80 institutions, tertiary education institutions in Jamaica. So we are proud to be in this select group, and we are in this group because we are committed to quality assurance and enhancement. In fact, creating a culture of quality assurance and enhancement at our university, and we are committed to maintaining the standards of the University Council of Jamaica, which is the national body charged with regulating institutions, assessing program readiness, and recognizing and monitoring educational programs. And in addition, the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean is internationally institutionally accredited by a body called ASIC, which is the Accreditation Services for International Schools, Colleges, and Universities in the United Kingdom. And this specializes in the international accreditation of educational providers and works in over 60 countries. And so we have the benefit of both local and international institutional accreditation, which is a kind of a seal of high quality and a commitment to continue providing this high quality to our students. And so when students graduate from UCC, they can be assured that they are benefiting from best practice teaching and learning supported by research, and that we'll continue to do our very best to maintain these standards.
Yes. And just before we bring in Richard Kildare, can you give us a sense of how the UCC has responded to the impact of COVID-19?
Yes, I can certainly do that. When COVID-19 impacted Jamaica and elsewhere in the world in March 2020, institutions of higher learning, without exception, began to turn towards online learning as a way of maintaining the educational provision that was being made available to students. And in many cases, this was a choppy change or adjustment. But in the case of UCC, because we had long been involved through UCC online in online education, because we had a great deal of experience in doing this well, we were able to make the transition smoothly to the appreciation of our student body. And not only that, as we proceeded, we were able to increase the enrollment of our increased registration at UCC uh, in terms of the numbers of students. We had an average of 5,500 at that time, and we were able to increase the numbers of students to over 7,000. And this is a testament to the quality of products and service provided by the university to its students, especially to the quality of the online teaching and learning, which we have been able to provide.
We'll come back to you in a little while from now to talk more about UCC itself. But Richard Kildare, Deputy CEO, Spectrum Capital Partners, and Acting CEO, UCC Real Estate Development Limited. UCC is more than just a university. UCC is a group of companies. Give us the details in that regard, please.
Hi, good afternoon again, Dervan and
Yeah.
the listeners. So there is an expansion right now in process for the UCC group, as we call it, and we have intent in expanding not just throughout the region and the Caribbean, but globally. Now, in marrying a lot of the business services and complementing what Professor Gale just indicated, is a matter of putting together businesses that can support and assist the student body as they are or in the future. So I start first with the Business Consultancy Institute, and that was created on the basis that with the Jamaica Business Development Center, in order to foster the growth of micro, small, and medium-sized businesses across the country. Now, the intent basically from a startup or someone who has thoughts in terms of creating a product or a business can go into the Business Development Center and they can be grandfathered through in everything as it relates to technical, business planning services, all that right through to the end stage. And literally, if you have an established business, they can also assist you through the process in financing, business planning, possible getting investment, all that. On the other side, we have the Spectrum Capital Partners Limited. And this is a private equity entity that seeks to identify established businesses that can be expanded, move into market maybe over 3 to 4 years, and then grow exponentially across in terms of their industry or their market. Then we have UCC REIT that you just spoke about. And UCC REIT is the Real Estate Investment and Development. And so we try to partner with or design projects that seek to build, to own, to rent, to lease, to develop construction or infrastructure on a general basis across the island. And these three, we are of the opinion, complement the strategic build out of the UCC group. And as such, we are proud to announce them today.
I'm listening to you, Richard Kildare, and I'm thinking, Professor Gale, what a wonderful group for students to be associated with. Can it, it's a it that it how the group is established and how it is functioning and will function going forward are in and of themselves features which are worth studying and exploring and analyzing and learning from. In other words, you're practicing what you teach, Professor Gill.
Yes, indeed, Dervan. We certainly are. This is the group is an example of horizontal and vertical integration, potentially and actually, and we management. In fact, business was the first discipline that we developed at the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean in the days when we started as the Institute of Management Sciences back in 1992, and then, of course, we merged with the Institute of Management and Production, which you might remember,
IMP,
which was IMP incorporated back in 1976. So we've got quite a track record there, taking these institutes into account. And I mention them because business administration, business management was a core discipline for us from those days. And we've expanded since then very, very widely so that we now have programs ranging from the certificate and associate degree and baccalaureate levels to the master's levels to doctoral programs, some of them with international partner universities as a way of enriching what we have to offer to our students. But we continue to be focused to see business as a core element of what we offer. Uh, for example, when we offer engineering, we are offering engineering management in partnership with Florida International University. And I mentioned that just as an example to show how we're always thinking how we can contribute to the economic growth and development of Jamaica by enhancing our human resources in a way that will enable them to uh, graduating students to be either entrepreneurs, that this is businessmen and women in their own right, or excellent employees, uh, or go on to further studies, whether at UCC or elsewhere. So we see the business core of the university as an asset, and we seek to leverage this not only in the interest of students, but in the interest of developing the potential of the group.
One moment, please. We need to take a break here on both sides of the story. Power 106 FM. Our guests at this time, Professor Dennis Gale, President of the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC. He also chairs the UCC Foundation. Richard Kildare is also online. He's Deputy CEO, Spectrum Capital Partners, Acting CEO, UCC Real Estate Development Limited.
Coast to Coast Concrete, the high quality concrete for fencing, roofing, foundation, and road surfacing. Call 876 754 7472. The time by Coast to Coast Concrete is
3:15.
Give your construction projects a solid start with top quality Jamaican-made building materials from Arc Manufacturing Limited. We deliver all your roofing nails, lumber, fencing, wire, and steel products island-wide. Call or visit any of our locations in Kingston and Montego Bay, or check out our website at www.arcja.com. Arc Manufacturing Limited, your building materials specialist.
2021 is your year to drive away with your dream car with a COK Auto Loan. And for a limited time, get 50% off your processing fee. Say what? Yes! Sign up for a COK Auto Loan today and get 50% off your processing fee. Plus, rates as low as 7.45%, and you have up to 10 years to repay. Why wait? Apply now. Visit cokcu.com or call us at 960-4226 or WhatsApp 578-0057. Conditions apply. COK, your financial partner for life.
Tune in to Farm Talk, 6:18 to 6:35 a.m. the first Tuesday of every month, and 6:18 to 6:45 p.m. the last Tuesday of every month for First Hand in the Field. Real issues, real solutions. Join the Newport First Hand team in the field as they identify problems and tell you how to address them. First Hand in the Field, Real Issues, Real Solutions is brought to you by Newport First Hand Jamaica Limited, the first on the land.
The trouble, the rough way to go. But I can't turn back. My heart is fixed, my mind's made up. No, I'll never stop in my faith. We'll see me.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. I'm Dervan Malcolm. Online, we have Professor Dennis Gale, President of the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC. Professor Gale also chairs the UCC Foundation. Richard Kildare is Deputy CEO, Spectrum Capital Partners, and Acting CEO of the UCC Real Estate Development Limited. So, Richard Kildare, talk with us a bit about the timing of these subsidiaries. What is driving the kind of decisions that are being made at this level as far as the diversification of the UCC group is concerned?
All right, thank you. It was always a plan from a strategic perspective for the group to be expanding in terms of the present business model and all of that. These companies were actually established, started off from last year, and we have been working at it ever since. The timing, maybe one would be looking at, for example, the COVID and saying the challenges that exist, the economy, all of that. But we are seeing opportunities, and not just seeing opportunities, but we are seeing a position where we can assist the students who have graduated, who are graduating, or persons who are not even students in furthering business and entrepreneurship. And I think Jamaica, more than any other time possible, will require entrepreneurs and established businesses that can help to generate that movement in terms of the economy to employ people, empower people, and get back on the road to recovery.
And Professor Gale, the argument continues to rage with respect to the funding of tertiary education and versus early childhood education, etc. Where do you come in as far as this issue is concerned?
Thank you for that question, Dervan. I think I can say that education really has to be looked at as an integrated whole, because unless you have people from the lowest, from the kindergarten level to the high school level to the tertiary level, who are educated to take advantage of the opportunities at each level, then we have a gap in terms of our national economic growth and development from the point of view of the human resources that the system is making available for this purpose. So we are at the university very happy to take part in initiatives such as the government's K-13 initiative, which involves a linkage between grades 11 and 12 of at the high school level and early stage university associate degree level, whether occupational associate degrees or traditional associate degrees, because what we're doing there is we're working with the government to improve the interface between secondary education and tertiary education in a way that can only benefit Jamaica. And I would say that we are the institution right now that has been able to assist most students in this way by bringing them into associate degrees at the university level.
Is there a way, Richard Kildare, in which those listening to us, maybe they are potential investors of different kinds, they perhaps like what they're seeing and hearing coming out of UCC and are pondering possibly investing in the development of the and expansion of the UCC group? What are the prospects for such an engagement?
The prospects are there presently, dependent on what side or what approach. So let's say we take it from the Business Development and Consultancy Institute. For those persons who are looking to, let's say, pivot, to blend, to do things that will make them that much more sturdy in terms of building out in the challenging economic time, the Business Development Unit is there. For those persons who are interested, they have an established company, they are looking to seek maybe possible investment for expansion and would like to take it as far as to the public market. We are there to assist, to support, and to do what is necessary through Spectrum Capital Partners. And so they can reach out on that basis. As we speak, we are doing projects or identifying projects that will be in turning out construction project development. So that soon you will hear much more about. But we also look at if there are persons who would want to be in that space and they want partnership in any way or form. Go on the website and send us a contact, ucc.edu.jm.
Easy to remember. Let's go back to Professor Dennis Gale. Professor Gale, you also chair the UCC Foundation. Give us a sense of the nature and extent of the work that has been done, is being done, and perhaps is to be done by the UCC Foundation, and how those listening to us can be a part of the efforts to further strengthen the foundation's resources in order to achieve its objectives.
I'll be glad to answer that question. The UCC Foundation is intended to secure funding to help students who may be very meritorious, dedicated students, but just don't have the funds to meet their tuition costs. So, what we do is we look for individuals, generous individuals, whether abroad or in Jamaica, who are able to make contributions to the foundation. We look for alumni of the university who are able to do this, and we make scholarships available, name scholarships to students, and celebrate their achievements as they go. So uh, this is one key aspect of the work of the foundation, and anyone listening who would like to help the foundation a little, uh, no matter how small. We have got the foundation is on the UCC website, which is readily found, um, ucc.edu. That's JM. And in addition, the foundation also is engaged in what we might call corporate social responsibility, so that we look at communities where we might be able to make a difference. I'm not going to name one particular community in which we're engaged right now, so it's uh, not to jump the gun in terms of the work that we're trying to do, but we look at such communities and we ask the question, how can we concentrate and focus the resources that we have in terms of faculty, students, especially graduate students and staff, and how can we mobilize resources to work with stakeholders within that community to make a difference and to help to develop small and micro businesses, for example, to work with churches towards that end. So we are very much in the business of corporate social responsibility. We'd like to make a difference in that way as well. And I think we are very happy when we have the feedback that we're making a difference.
And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I've been thinking, and I'm looking ahead, and I am seeing the UCC group on the stock exchange, for example. Am I dreaming too much, Richard Kildare?
No, it is something that we have looked at, and there were some pronouncements a couple of years ago in terms of that. It's something that we will be revisiting and looking in terms of the best time, ideal opportunity. So it is a possibility.
Looking forward to that. And finally, Professor Dennis Gale, your word to students who are looking to matriculate to UCC, or maybe they haven't decided on a university yet. Why? Why should they choose UCC? And are your programs? Well, let me allow you to respond, please.
Surely, of course. Choose UCC because we have a wide range of flexibly implemented programs which are intended to help you to develop yourself in such a way as to begin your education and career journey and to be successful in doing so, so that you can look back and say, I was able to achieve what I did because I chose UCC.
And having said that, remind us of the areas of study in general terms that can be pursued at UCC.
UCC offers programs of study ranging from human resources management, information technology, marketing, tourism and hospitality management, finance, uh, general education at the lower division, so that includes social sciences, for example. And now we have uh, a doctorate in business administration offered in partnership with the University of Sunderland in the UK. Just one of the examples of the partnerships I mentioned earlier. So that really, from the level of professional certificates to the level of doctoral degrees, we have programs for everyone, and we are constantly looking for ways to expand the range and the scope of our programs so as to ensure that we can meet the needs of all Jamaicans and meet the needs of potential students across the region.
And Richard Kildare, those contact details once again for those who would like to learn more about the UCC group. What's the easiest way?
You can go on our website, ucc.edu.jm. You will find information there as it relates to all the areas across. And then you have relevant contact information there in areas that you may have or wish to make contact.
Sounds good, gentlemen. Thank you so much for giving us the insight you have in the work, tremendous work being done within the UCC group of companies. Thank you so much, Professor Gale and Richard Kildare. All the very best to you and the team within the UCC group.
Thank you.
And I thank you so much too. It has been a pleasure speaking with you about UCC, and I wish you a very pleasant evening.
Same to you. Thank you very much. Take care. Professor Dennis Gale, President of the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC. He's also chairman of the UCC Foundation, along with Richard Kildare, Deputy CEO, Spectrum Capital Partners, and acting CEO, UCC Real Estate Development Limited. More in a moment.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
3:30.
Both sides of the story.
Tune in this and every Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. for Kids Connect during Both Sides of the Story with host Dervan Malcolm to join in a series of discussions on building a strong relationship with your child. We invite children to call in and voice their concerns. This broadcast is brought to you by the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, Every Child Deserves Protection, Margins Pharmacy, and Community Meds Pharmacy. That's a live broadcast of Kids Connect during Both Sides of the Story with host Dervan Malcolm at 3:30 p.m. this and every Tuesday, right here on Power 106 FM.
Sides of the story.
I've got no love. Call my very own. Oh, the river gets deeper, the hills get steeper, and the pain gets deeper every day. Yeah, yeah. I've got a hard road to travel and the rough way to go. Said it's a hard road to travel.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world. Let's check in with more of your messages in just a moment.
One more thing, I dream of home, far beyond the sea, where there is love, peace and joy for me. Oh, in my eyes I see it.
Let's clear some of the many messages that have been popping up here on your program, Both Sides of the Story. Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. Golden Brown says, good evening, Teach. Good afternoon. Faye Weller says, good afternoon to you too, Faye Weller. Sylviana Johnson says, good afternoon to you too. Sylviana says, strange, I'm not hearing anything. Well, you're the only one saying that, Sylviana. You might want to check your system, not seeing any complaints elsewhere. Shane Burke says, hi, my mother Norma says, big up from Cocoon, Hanover. Big up to your mother Norma and everybody else in Cocoon, including you, Shane Burke, in Cocoon, Hanover. Cherry Henry says, good afternoon, Mr. Dervan. I really love that song, Hard Road to Travel. Have a good afternoon to you too. Curtis Smith, glory to God, says, good afternoon, Sir Malcolm. Good afternoon to all of God's wonderful children. Sir Malcolm, the PM should be the first one to take the vaccine. He should set the example for everyone of us to follow. And Inez Brown says, good evening, good afternoon, Inez Brown. Sir Malcolm, how is the evening? I wish you well. May you have a blessed day and please be safe, my child. Thank you very much, Ms. Inez Brown, for your message. all the very best. The Prime Minister, as we indicated earlier on, is making his contribution to the budget debate as we speak. The presentation started, started about 44 minutes ago. Let's take a bit of the Prime Minister's presentation.
Speaker, good policy matters. Madam Speaker, I've heard the calls from the opposition for the government to spend a further $21.3 billion, and calls from other quarters are for the government to spend an additional $40 billion on various social support programs. If we had the revenues and our debt to GDP ratio was low, of course we would go deeper into a counter-cyclical spending program to stimulate the economy and give further cushion to the vulnerable. To be clear, we have suspended our fiscal targets and adjusted our primary surplus to allow for the expenditure of the $60 billion under the social and economic recovery and vaccines for Jamaica program, SERVE program. This, however, is the maximum we can do without throwing us back into a debt trap, especially when our debt is already too high to begin with. What is being proposed by the opposition is that we borrow more in order to pay our interest costs. In other words, forget about the 10 years of sacrifice. Forget about the fiscal discipline that we all agree to. And what is a little bit confusing is that when we came and explained that we are doing this with great reluctance, but we had to do it, on this side, there was some disagreement that we shouldn't. And then now I'm hearing the opposite, that not only should we just tweak it, we should just throw away any prudence with the rule. So conflicting message. But when the person's in the house, I will raise it. Madam Speaker, this is precisely how a vicious debt spiral begins, leading to an increase in our debt again to unsustainable levels, undermining the credibility of government's fiscal policy, putting our international credit ratings at risk, and ultimately threatening the prospects of recovery that every Jamaican household is anticipating. Madam Speaker, we can return to growth without unsustainably increasing our borrowing. We must get our people vaccinated so we can rapidly return our economy to full operation. Madam Speaker, let me now turn to the management of the COVID-19 pandemic. Managing the pandemic is like walking a tightrope. It requires balance through flexible timing. To achieve this balanced outcome, my government established consistent principles that we would follow in making decisions regarding the mix of measures that would be employed at any time. And these principles are: one, being evidence-based, meaning that the government would not take knee-jerk actions or act out of political expediency. Its response must be rooted in evidence and science. Two, being situationally appropriate, meaning we would not rely solely on generalized measures, but we would also tailor measures to fit circumstances. For example, if we found evidence that some schools, by virtue of their special circumstances, could be reopened with low risk, then we would tailor measures around these circumstances to allow their reopening. And you would have seen us doing that, crafting measures around special circumstances to maximize the normalcy in the economy. And then third, being proportionate, meaning that the extent and restrictiveness of measures imposed would be no more than is sufficient to control the potential threat and prevent risks from materializing. It also means that we would be gradual, that we would try it first, and then if it works, we scale it up. And that is how we have operated consistently through the pandemic. Between March and August 2020, we managed to keep our daily confirmed cases well below 100 and closer to 50, thereby flattening the curve and keeping well within the capacity of the public health system to respond. We acted early and extensively. Recall that we closed our borders, implemented tight curfews, as tight as 3 p.m. on holidays. All schools were closed, bars and places of amusement were closed. We asked churches to worship online. Some communities and an entire parish were placed under strict quarantine for periods, and restaurants were restricted to takeout only. This came at great economic cost and was not practical or sustainable. In May 2020, the Cabinet took a decision to reopen our economy using a risk-based approach, balancing the risks to lives and the risks to livelihoods, as I outlined earlier. We meticulously went about crafting measures that we based on data and scientific advice, tailored to situations and sufficient to mitigate risks. This allowed us to reopen churches in May 2020, followed by community bars, restaurants, horse racing, and gaming. These reopenings were supported by progressively reduced curfew hours, moving from the 6 p.m. through to 6 a.m. curfew, the dusk till dawn curfew, to the 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew. We opened our borders on June 1, 2020 to allow for the controlled re-entry of our nationals and residents. On June 15, 2020, we opened our borders to international travelers under a program of controlled entry, which involved testing, screening, quarantine, and registration on the Jam COVID app or the Visit Jamaica website. This was further supported by the creation of the Resilience Corridor. In the 10 months since the controlled entry program has been in place, 525,727 persons have arrived in Jamaica. 117,569 are residents, and 408,727 are visitors, including business travelers and tourists. We, Madam Speaker, we had to do this. Had we not done this, the fallout in tourism revenues would have been 100% instead of 75%. The little uptick that you're seeing in employment, it would be going in the wrong direction. So, Madam Speaker, our balance of payment deficit would have been worse. Government revenues would have been further threatened. And there would be no argument in this budget about spending more. Madam Speaker, the decision to gradually reopen the economy meant that in tandem, we would also increase the capacity of the health system to cope with increasing numbers. I hope I have a figure, a chart that I'd ask members to cast your eyes to. It can be seen that in March 2020, before the first case, we started with an initial bed capacity of 15 and increased that rapidly to 150. We continued to gradually increase capacity until September 2020, when our COVID reserved beds went up to approximately 350. In March 2021, we again almost doubled capacity to now having 600 beds designated to the treatment of COVID patients. Madam Speaker, for almost a year, and you can see it there on the graph, where the blue represents the daily cases and the orange line representing the number of beds available at any one time. For almost a year, we kept our hospitalization curve, that is the blue, below our bed capacity, which was always the strategic plan of the government. Flatten the curve and protect the healthcare system. And we did that. Upon entering community spread in September 2020, the second wave of increased hospitalization followed. And we came close to exhausting capacity, but it did not overwhelm us, as you can see, there between September and October and November. We had an increase in October, but it petered out because of measures that we had put in place.
The Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, making his contribution to the 2021 budget debate. More in a moment.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
3:45.
The Gleaner Premium will excite your digital media experience, satisfy your appetite for exclusive stories and special access to editors' fora, videos, podcasts, and much more. To subscribe, go to jamaica-gleaner.com/premium and select the e-Gleaner or website option. Welcome to your new digital experience, the Gleaner Premium.
Free premium access to unlimited news and value-added offerings. Limited time offer ends soon.
But I can't turn back. My heart is fixed. My mind's made up. No, I'll never stop. My faith will see me.
Thanks for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaner's website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world. And just before we go back to the Prime Minister's presentation in Gordon House, some more messages. Ivy Liz May says, if the vaccine was stolen, such a shame. Audrey Smith in Southampton in England says, good afternoon, Dervan and listeners. Very interesting topic going on. Always good to listen to your program. Thank you, Audrey Smith. Don Marie Smith says, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, Don Marie Smith. Peter Barkley says, good afternoon, Mr. Dervan. Hope all is well. All is indeed well, and we're giving thanks, Peter Barkley. Hope the same for you and yours. Inez Campbell-Brown still online with us. Let's take some more of the Prime Minister's presentation.
Implement the new ticketing system for enforcement of infection prevention and control measures. The government is prepared to have the bill reviewed by a joint select committee over the weekend and debate and pass the bill next week if the opposition is willing. This would make the new measures more effective if we have this amendment in place. Madam Speaker, not only did we increase bed capacity, we also invested in our testing and scientific analysis capabilities during the pandemic. Last year, the Chase Fund financed high-capacity testing equipment and supplies for the National Influenza Center. This equipment significantly enhanced the country's capacity to test for COVID-19 and other viruses, and to quickly and accurately turn around the results. And this is partially a part of the reason why you would have seen the increase in testing. I mean, the opposition has been saying we need to test more. We have done it. But as you know, there comes a point where no matter how much more you test, the results are going to be the same. Viruses are constantly changing, leading to the emergence of new variants that may have different characteristics. Since late 2020, multiple variants of the SARS-CoV-2 have been detected, and some variants may be easier to transmit and cause more severe disease. Earlier this year, we sent several samples for testing to a regional facility to determine whether the UK variant is present in Jamaica. The results took an extended time to be delivered. Jamaica must have the instant capability to determine the variants of viruses present in our population as part of our routine public health surveillance. I'm gonna share with you a little bit of parliamentary cooperation. When I came to the House a few weeks ago, the member from St. Mary Central, I believe you are still the opposition spokesman on health, sent me a little note that we should buy one of these genome sequencers. And I went about looking, what is this sequencer, asked questions, consulted, and it's something that's doable. And we spoke about it, the Minister of Health, and Chase has been directed to fund the acquisition of a genome sequencer and the requisite accessories and reagents. So this business that the government doesn't talk to the opposition. Not to go so.
We would take guidance, we would take advice.
Madam Speaker, on March 8, 2021, we welcomed our first shipment of 50,000 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine donated by the government of India. I want to express deep appreciation to the people of India for this extremely kind gesture and show of global solidarity. Madam Speaker, later I will express my gratitude to Prime Minister Modi. On March 15th, 2021, Jamaica became the first country in the region to receive supplies of 14,400 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine from the COVAX facility. So all the talk you hear about we're not doing anything and we're moving slow, and Jamaica is the first country in the region to receive from the COVAX facility. That means something, because I am on the phone with colleague prime ministers asking me, what is happening in Jamaica? And when I say, what is happening in your country? I'm going to call it a country name. Why we can't get no vaccine? The situation is not unique to Jamaica.
Marvelous, but not unique.
And if you look at some of the other countries, and you see the challenge we face is that, Jamaica is in such a unique position. We are not too small and we're not too big. So it's kind of sometimes very difficult to place us in a policy category. I mean, what is required to vaccinate a country of 400,000 or 200,000 or 70,000 is not what is required to vaccinate a country of 3 million people. So you can't compare us with others. Anyway, thankfully, these vaccines are now being administered across the island according to the established priority groups published by the Ministry of Health. Madam Speaker, with only 64,400 doses of the vaccine in hand and a second dose required for full effectiveness, we must be very strategic and fair in how we distribute the vaccines. I am well aware of the history of the distribution of scarce goods in Jamaica. I am extremely sensitive to the deeply embedded perceptions in the minds of our people that politicians and connected persons will get the vaccine before those who truly need it. I'm also sensitive to the cause that the national leaders should take the vaccine first as a sign of reassurance that they have confidence in the medicine that we are asking you to take. Indeed, the leader of the opposition will confirm that I extended an invitation to him to receive the vaccine with me and other national leaders immediately as the vaccines were ready to be administered after arrival. And I believe we had agreement. Madam Speaker, later that night, I received several calls, including from leading health professionals. And I'm not saying that the leader of the opposition is that, in fact, those two separate things. But I've received two separate things, and I'm sure you received those calls as well. People saying, disagreeing vehemently that young, fit politicians should not get the vaccine before elderly people. So several doctors called, several other well-placed health professionals objecting to this. Madam Speaker, I am 49 years old. This year, I still consider myself among the group of young politicians. So I reflected on what was said to me directly and the commentaries in media. Indeed, I noticed some articles being placed in the newspaper. I noticed some, tweets and posting on social media. We even got questions from journalists. So we knew what was building to come. So I discussed with the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and we agreed that we would make it clear that the principle of equity in distribution must not be compromised. Given that there is more than enough demand for the 64,000 doses of the vaccines on hand presently, the important assurance and example then must be that the vaccines will be equitably distributed. And not just equitably, but orderly and strategically to protect the healthcare system, reduce hospitalization, and reduce deaths among vulnerable population. Already, Minister of Health, how many persons have been vaccinated already? Over 17,000. I had 16. I had 16 in my speech, but I figured that by the time I'm speaking, you would have over. So 17,000 plus healthcare workers, elderly, and security forces have been vaccinated. That supply, in a matter of weeks, is going to be depleted. So, with a limited supply of vaccines, the first group to be inoculated should be our healthcare workers. Even that set, those 60 and over with comorbidities should be prioritized, and then you work down to the younger, healthier persons. Getting healthcare workers vaccinated first ensures that the health system can continue to serve the population with less worry for personal exposure and loss of capacity due to illness and death. And Madam Speaker, I pause here as the leader of the opposition did to recognize our debt of gratitude to the healthcare workers, those who have lost their lives. After healthcare workers, the demographic that exhibits the highest vulnerability to the disease should be vaccinated. the global mortality rate for COVID-19 is around 2%. In Jamaica, the case fatality rate is 1.5% on average. However, 3.7% of those who contract the disease in the age group 60 to 69 have died, and they account for 20.9% of all deaths. 7.3% of persons who contract the disease in the age group 70 to 79 have died, and they account for 24.5% of all deaths. 12% of those who contract the disease in the age group 80 to 89 have died, and they account for 19.6% of all deaths.
The Prime Minister making his contribution to the budget debate. There's more after the break.
At Wellington Dental, they offer cleaning, filling, whitening, and other services for the entire family. The time by Wellington Dental is
4 o'clock. The Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce presents MIIC Live on both sides of the story with Dervan Malcolm every first and third Thursday at 3:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. Learn more about the manufacturing strategy, modernization in trading, foreign direct investments, and much more right here on Power 106 FM. This broadcast of MIIC Live is brought to you by the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce.
Call my very own. Oh, the river gets deeper, the hills get steeper, and the pain gets deeper every day. Yeah, yeah. I've got a hard road to travel.
¿Qué hora es en espagnol? Son las 4:01. Quelle heure est-il en français? Les 4:01. Science, TDN le, ce dien liang yi fen. A minute past 4 o'clock in the afternoon here at Broadcast House 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Have you had a checkup lately? If not, now is a good time. Let's not wait till we get sick to get a checkup. How about that? Checking in with more on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. Still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com. Among the announcements coming out of the Prime Minister's budget presentation so far, he is reported as saying more persons could die, reporting that hospitalizations are now 15% above capacity amid a third wave. And the Prime Minister warned that a new set of stronger measures will be announced when the current ones end on Monday, March 22. Let's hear some more.
Face the public as well, the councillors who have to face the public as well, and the heads of agencies who they need to be able to man the operations of whatever agency they head, and they need to be able to move in and out. So I will be getting my vaccination in that group. That group comes when we are clear that the healthcare workers have been vaccinated, that we have reached the tail end of the police and the soldiers, and then we start. Note, however, that persons 60 and over are currently being vaccinated in parallel to all these groups, and will continue to be vaccinated. Madam Speaker, I will have some more to say about how the vaccines should be managed and the rules around it. I saw one report about theft. I haven't been able to confirm whether or not this is so, but we are going to ensure that the vaccines are properly managed, because these are not, they are not all gifts. And even if they are gifts, even more reason why we have to make sure that they are properly managed. Madam Speaker, there is a global shortage of vaccine. Production capacity has not yet caught up with demand, and the capacity that exists has been reserved by rich countries. We have commitments by virtue of our participation in the global COVAX facility and the African Medical Supplies Platform. However, we are always mindful that the supply situation is dynamic and may change suddenly. Jamaica is also pursuing both bilateral and commercial options to acquire vaccines. Orders that have been negotiated require lead time of several weeks to be delivered, and the situation here is even more uncertain. However, we expect to continue receiving small amounts, but sufficient supplies to keep our vaccination program active. The supply situation should begin to stabilize and have greater certainty in June as more vaccines are approved by the WHO and more production capacity is brought online. Madam Speaker, this means that we still have a few more months ahead of us for the strict maintenance of protocols. It means we must be very careful with the supplies we have and use it where it matters. It means that we all must exercise greater personal responsibility in wearing our masks, social distancing, and avoid unnecessary movement. It is not the end of the journey, but the end is in sight. And you know that you can count on the government. You can feel secure and confident that this government will continue its wise and judicious management of your affairs, protecting both your life and livelihood. Madam Speaker, our security forces have been called upon to play a major supporting role in the management of the pandemic. Increasingly, our police and military is being called upon to deal with unconventional threats and give support in non-traditional areas. Some have lost their lives in the course of duty. A fair assessment will conclude that they have performed their roles creditably. They have been committed and acted with restraint, and I wish to express our deep appreciation for their service. Madam Speaker, the most pressing matter of concern for most Jamaicans regarding our sense of security is the murder rate and its increasing intractable nature. We can report that we ended 2020 with less murders than the previous year. And since 2018, we have essentially flattened the murder curve. There is no doubt that our use of the states of public emergency have worked to reduce murders and shootings wherever they have been deployed. I remain proud of the fact that this administration was able to deploy and implement a framework to enable our security forces to use extraordinary powers and enhanced measures without doing violence to any citizen or resulting in the death of any citizen. Of greater importance is that the public views the SOEs as an effective tool in improving their security and safety. Madam Speaker, there are legal questions raised about the use of the SOEs, and it is the intention of the government to have those issues resolved. The opposition and other commentators prefer the view that government is using the SOE as a crime-fighting tool. I've heard it said on many occasions. And I want the leader of the opposition to pay keen attention. I know you're listening. Keen attention to what I'm about to say. I wish to draw an important distinction that I hope will bring greater clarity to the government's approach to national security and the use of the SOEs. Madam Speaker, the levels of crimes, in particular shootings and resultant murders, are well above the norm for countries at peace, where conventional policing and law enforcement measures can be applied. There is a point where the sheer volume of murders and the gruesomeness of the incidents not only repulse and drive fear in the public, but also overwhelm the security forces and the justice system. What we really have are communities at war with each other, captured by gangs that operate like militia and led by dons who behave like warlords. When a country gets to this point, the problem is more than a crime problem, and the solution requires more than conventional policing. What is required is an intervention to restore and keep the peace. The zones of special operations and its short-term version, the states of public emergency, were designed and developed along the lines of classic peacekeeping missions. The objective was to disarm and dominate the space, control movement in and out, keep gang members out, facilitate community life and social intervention, maintain peace, and win the trust and respect of the citizens. The residents of the communities that have benefited from either the SOE or the ZOZO will tell you that it brought peace, Madam Speaker, peace to their community and gave them the assurance of security. So when the leader of the opposition opposes the SOEs, he's opposing an effective tool that has brought peace to communities in a structured way. Madam Speaker, we have never come here with statistics about how many persons we have arrested in the Zozo. That's true. What we have always come here is how many lives we have saved. And I believe that that may be the basis of the objection. No, I'm not. What I've said is I'm making a point that I hope will clarify the government's policy. Right? So what I'm saying, Madam Speaker, is that the national conversation is still very limited in the perspective on the crime problem that we have. We are still seeing it as a police problem. The problem that we have, Madam Speaker, leader of the opposition, is not only a police problem. The magnitude of the problem suggests a nation at war. Yes. And nations can be at war in different ways. And if you study it, you will see that, yes, you have the conventional warfare, countries at war with countries. But you have internal strife, you have civil wars, you have internecine wars, and believe it or not, sometimes you have feuds, community feuds. And those feuds, not unique to Jamaica. If you look at the history of the American West, of feudal England, feuds. And it is not an absence of law and order. It is that these feuds, these internecine wars, these civil wars have risen to the point where the people who are leading them see themselves as state actors almost. And what we have are similar situations. I mean, what can you say about a community that will say, listen, I'm arming all my little boys in the area and tell them, if anybody from the other community cross the road, shoot them. You tell me what that is, other than a war. Tell me what that is. And how do you stop that? No matter how many of them you arrest, the culture is there is this underlying issue of conflict. It don't have anything to do with drugs, really. It don't have anything to do with an economic matter. Oftentimes, it is over man or woman business, some stupid argument, and what they do is they pursue the drugs and the guns in order to settle those scores. What you have is a war. And how you stop that? How do you intervene? If you put regular policing in that, what you are doing is setting up the police to commit extrajudicial acts. And that is what this country has done to the police for years. For years. Sending them out there without the proper tools, the proper training, and the proper policies to face this war. You know, it's, anyway. And then, worse on top of that, is that we turn around and we blame the police, we cuss them, and as one shot fire, we come, more police, more police. Madam Speaker, until we recognize the nature of the problem that we have, and we are willing as a parliament to make the legislative changes that will allow the state to mobilize in ways to do these kinds of peacekeeping and development operations, which are not policing. It's quite a different matter. And that is what we did from a strategic level. We set up the ZOZOs. It is set up really on the line of a peacekeeping mission to go into these communities, to remove the conflicts, the conflicting parties, without killing anybody, no loss of life, because peace, that is what you are there to defend.
The Prime Minister making his contribution to the budget debate. More on both sides of the story after the break.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
4:15. Listen to the story of the Jamaican diaspora on Diaspora Check-In every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. during both sides of the story with host Dervan Malcolm, the story of Jamaicans at home and abroad. That's Diaspora Check-In every Wednesday during both sides of the story, brought to you by GK Western Union. Receive money directly into your bank account today.
I've got a hard road to travel, a rough way to go. Said it's a hard road to travel, a rough way to go. But I can't turn back. My heart is fixed, my mind's made up. No, I'll never stop in my faith. We'll see.
Que ahora es en español, son las 4:16. Quelle heure est-il en français? Il est 4:16. 现在几点了？4点16分. 16 minutes past 4 o'clock in the afternoon here at Broadcast House 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Good afternoon to all schoolers listening to us from the early childhood level to the secondary level. Have you done your homework yet? If not, now is a good time. We trust you also had and took advantage of the opportunity to engage in some physical activity, just as important as mental activity. As we always say, young people, socialization makes you educable, education makes you trainable, training makes you employable, and the right attitude makes you successful. Homework time, young people. Let's go back to the Prime Minister.
And the plans are already in place. This means, Madam Speaker, 2 less communities at war, adding to the murder rate. Madam Speaker, dismantling the gangs, because we hear a lot of talk, kind of talk. Sometimes I wonder if you know, when the comments are made, if they are researched. While the SOEs attenuated areas in conflict, the police were busy doing police work. So that's it, the 2 strategies. One, you have the military supporting the police, but controlling space, doing static duties, and supporting community development. Classic peacekeeping type operation. No gunshots in the area. People can move about their business. People can experience peace. While that is happening, and the gangs have been displaced, the police were busy doing their work. In Jamaica, homicides are significantly biased towards persons affiliated with gangs or are gangsters themselves. Indeed, almost 80% of murders could be linked to some gang-related activity. The anti-gang strategy, apart from the disruptive operational activities designed to reduce their freedom of movement and action, relies heavily on the use of the Criminal Justice, that is the Suppression of Criminal Organizations Act, commonly known as the anti-gang legislation, to investigate and prosecute the gangs as a collective whole. Over the last 3 years, 167 gangsters have been arrested and 130 placed before the courts. This has disrupted the activities of 10 of the major violent gangs across the island. 53 members of the Klansman gang, that's well known to some over there, are currently in custody awaiting trial. In September 2020, the Strategic Counter-Gang Task Force, a multi-formation partnership between the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Branch, Specialized Operations, and the Financial Investigation Division, was established to further enhance the constabulary's counter-gang effort. In October 2020, we obtained our first conviction of a criminal gang. The police will continue to do the meticulous investigative work necessary to build cases to dismantle all the gangs in Jamaica. The leader of the opposition talked about they're not doing any investigation. Never before in the history of the police have they done this kind of investigation. Never before. Madam Speaker, while the police enforce the anti-gang strategy, targeting gangs who perpetrate the highest levels of violence in our society, we cannot ignore the remaining attributions for murder in the country. The 20% of men, women, and children, some of whom are murdered at the hands of those known to them, their very own relatives in some instances, in a spate of domestic and interpersonal related murders. We are seeing an increasing trend of interfamilial disputes and contract killings over land, inheritance, and simple disagreements over things such as food or an animal dragging garbage onto a neighbor's property. Life is so cheap. You can pay to take it. Madam Speaker, the recognition of the importance of violence prevention in the reduction of crime and violence is important. And I recognize, Madam Speaker, that it is not just policing, it's not just peacekeeping, but there is just something gone wrong in our culture that causes us to resort to violence as the first means of resolving conflict. Something has just gone wrong with us. Madam Speaker, I have established the National Commission on Violence Prevention to study the problem of violence in Jamaica and the existing strategies being used to reduce violence and to make realistic and attainable recommendations to specifically target attitudinal and behavioral changes in the society. The Commission will formulate and recommend to the government a 10-year plan using a public health approach to address the cultural norms of resorting to violence as a means of conflict resolution. The Commission has already begun its work and has presented its strategic plan for my approval. The government recognizes that the violence problem is not solely a police problem. All of the society must understand that we have become too accepting of violence as a means of resolving conflict in our music, in our entertainment, in our intimate partner relations, in the correction of our children, in our domestic matters, in almost all aspects of interpersonal transactions, we use violence. Violence is of epidemic proportions in Jamaica, and this administration recognizes it for what it is and is taking the structured approach to address it. Madam Speaker, irrespective of the perpetrator of the crime, the key to improved investigative outcomes is an emphasis on the use of integrated scientific approaches in solving crime. The strategy requires a shift from investigations and case file preparations being reliant on witness statements, which is the standard way in which investigations and cases are built in Jamaica, to a process utilizing more science-based evidence in investigations and case building. The growing number of ballistic reports generated and the linkages identified between crime scenes have progressed several major investigations in the courts. The linkages have aided in the identification of inter- and intra-gang activity, criminal suspects, and has also provided invaluable intelligence that has initiated several new investigations. Additionally, cyber forensic and DNA evidence have played a critical role in the clear-up of cases. Increases in our cyber forensic processing output and the routine retrieval of DNA from crime scenes and recovered weapons have directly led to more convictions. This approach to investigations has resulted in a better clear-up rate. In 2020, the JCF recorded a clear-up rate of 53% compared to a clear-up rate for homicides of 39% in 2019. All because we have made a shift in investing in forensic capabilities, investing in cyber capabilities, and making the administrative change to ensure that we change the way we investigate crime and build cases. And it is having an effect. Madam Speaker, improving the working environment of the police is critical to raising morale. I'm proud to say that this administration has invested more in the building and renovation of police facilities than any other administration before. 116 police facilities have been programmed over the last 3 years for repairs, refurbishment, and construction. You're looking there on the screen of a brand new police station being constructed, and I believe that that one is in Olympic Gardens, maybe? No, this is Shady Grove. But there's one being constructed in Olympic Gardens, brand new. That was a promise made by a former MP on that side many years ago, and I'm just fulfilling it. The JCF has also benefited from significant investments in building a more standardized, fit-for-purpose, and newer transportation fleet in order to improve the response times to calls for service and provide greater police efficiency through the use of integrated database, fleet management, and tracking systems. So we talked about that for years, Madam Speaker, for years, why we don't put trackers on the car. Well, it is there now. It is there now. I'm also pleased to report that body-worn camera systems are now being rolled out in the police force. This will provide protection for members of the JCF and the public through the provision of an objective view of incidents and have a positive impact on the speed at which incidents are investigated and disposed of. Madam Speaker, this administration has taken a carefully studied and strategic approach to security and crime reduction. Our strategy is multidimensional, practical, and citizen-focused. Through our steady and deliberate efforts, we have been seeing results, and I am confident that we will overcome the crime monster in Jamaica. Madam Speaker, I believe that the sector that has been hardest hit by the pandemic is education. I fear it will have the most far-reaching, long-lasting, and devastating effect on our society and prospects for faster, stronger, and better recovery. In an already uneven and unequal system, the pandemic would have widened the education divide in our society. I have asked the Minister of Education to do a comprehensive study on learning loss in the system and make recommendations to the Cabinet by June 15th on how this could be corrected. Madam Speaker, we must get our children back to school by September 2021. I have insisted that teachers should be in the first phase of those being prioritized for vaccination. Depending on how quickly we can get our teachers vaccinated, we could possibly consider summer school as an option for makeup classes.
Time for another break here on both sides of the story, Power 106 FM, before we hear more from the Prime Minister's contribution to the budget debate.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
4:30.
The Gleaner Premium will excite your digital media experience, satisfy your appetite for exclusive stories and special access to editors' fora, videos, podcasts, and much more. To subscribe, go to jamaica-gleaner.com/premium and select the e-Gleaner or website option. Welcome to your new digital experience, the Gleaner Premium.
Free premium access to unlimited news and value-added offerings. Limited time offer ends soon.
No, I'll never stop in my faith. We'll see.
¿Qué hora es en español? Son las 5:29. Quelle heure est-il en français? Les 5:29. 现在地点了5点加29分. 29 minutes to 5 o'clock in the afternoon here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Do you know where your children are? Are they where they're supposed to be? Doing what they're supposed to be doing? It's a good time to check up on the children. A good time for us to continue with more on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM. The Prime Minister is on the subject of education in his budget presentation. Let's listen.
Do more, because I believe in providing students with the means to connect to the internet. And, the time is coming where, most of the content that students will need, they will be able to carry on their tablets. Yeah. And the tablet will become like pen and paper. Yeah. So, I believe in making the investment there. We'd love to do more, but that's what we can do now. And I encourage others listening who may want to do so to identify a school and give it to the net to give to the school so that it can be recorded. That's the National Education Trust. Because what I'm fearful of is that there is a lot of giving and there's a lot of duplication. And I've got reports that schools are getting tablets and they're holding on to them. Don't want to give it to the students. I don't know why. But I think we should make it absolutely clear that the tablets are not the property of the school. We're giving them to the students so that they can use it. Madam Speaker, the Jamaica Education Transformation Commission, which was established in July 2000, has met with a wide range of stakeholders and international partners, as well as specialists in educational development, including several who led previous initiatives resulting in the 2004 Task Force report. The Commission is especially alert to the complexities emerging from the COVID-19 pandemic and seeks to take advantage of the innovations it has forced upon our educators in order to build back better when normalcy returns. The first draft of the findings and proposed recommendations will be provided within the first quarter of the new financial year, that's 2021-2022, So I saw your little video, member from Southwest St. Andrew, querying when the report will be made. I too was hoping that I would have had it in April as I had asked, but the challenge of doing it by distance, and which essentially that's what happened. That caused the workflow to be disrupted. In order to remain relevant and compete in the 21st century global economy, we have to fundamentally transform ourselves. STEM disciplines, science, technology, energy and mathematics, and coding are at the heart of the global technological revolution. Madam Speaker, I had announced last year that this administration is committed to the development of 6 new science, technology, engineering, and math schools. These would be the STEM schools. Madam Speaker, the pandemic obviously intervened. This, Madam Speaker, does not mean that the projects are abandoned. No, we have taken the time to do the designs and the planning. We have identified 2 locations, and we are proceeding with the finalization of the plans. And I'm understanding now that they are at the PIMSEC, that is the public investment process, to be approved. So they are well on their way to be delivered. And the Minister of Finance, I know there will be no deliberations about funding them, because he's a man who believes in education. So we're going to have some first-class schools in science and technology. Madam Speaker, infrastructure investment stimulates the economy, but we must do it in a strategic and purposeful way. Infrastructure investment is not merely about projects and assets. It's about using the physical building structure to enhance lives. So infrastructure is about improving quality of life. Madam Speaker, in 2020-21 financial year, the Port Authority of Jamaica has had several accomplishments. However, for the first time in 8 years, the Port Authority will post a loss. While the pandemic has dealt a huge blow to global tourism, perhaps no other sector in the industry has been impacted more severely than the cruise industry. As a result, our cruise shipping segment, which accounted for $2.92 billion or 30% of the Port Authority's total revenues in 2020-2021, that was completely eliminated. And that explains why the Port Authority would have made a loss. On a positive note, however, revenues from cargo operations exceeded the budget during the fiscal year. Measures to reduce operating expenses also yielded savings against the budget. These effects were not sufficient, however, to overcome the losses from the fallout in cruise. With the vaccination program now in full swing in the United States, the Port Authority is cautiously optimistic that cruise operations will resume on or before the start of the season in November 2021. In anticipation of the sustained positive impact of cruise shipping on the job creation prospects and growth in the periods ahead, the authority proceeded with expansion and upgrading plans at major cruise terminals. Now, I want the Parliament to appreciate that when the pandemic hit, the strategy of the government was to say to all the agencies, do not recoil, continue to build. I recall meeting with the construction sector, being very clear that construction must go on, and we are happy to see that the construction sector took what the government said And now we are seeing construction booming in the pandemic. And all of our agencies have continued with their programs, including the PAJ, even though their revenues for this year would have fallen. But what it means is that whatever reserves they have built up over the years, they are going to invest those now. And that is what needs to happen. So it is not always that it is the government must spend centrally. It can be that we can get the private sector to calculate the risk and increase their own spending in the economy. But that can only work if there is confidence. It can only work if they see the rating agency say, hey, Jamaica is a good prospect for investment. That's it. And the rating agencies, based upon maintaining, saying that Jamaica is doing well. It continues to be a good prospect for investment. So, Madam Speaker, the expansion of the Freeport terminal works to extend berth 2 to accommodate the current trend of larger size vessels and construction of a new berth 1 to handle cargo. That is underway. The project is expected to be completed in 2022 at a cost of US $16.4 million. The PAJ has been engaged with the Urban Development Corporation with a view to transforming the Montego Bay Freeport Road between the roundabout and the eastern boundary of the terminal. And those who live in Montego Bay would know how important this project is. Indeed, we get many complaints, but this project is now underway. The aim is to create a pedestrian-friendly stretch of roadway with provision for cycling and mopeds, vehicular traffic and buses for transporting guests and locals along the roadway in an orderly and appealing fashion. All of that will be done. The intention is to interconnect this roadway with the other developments being implemented by the UDC along the Montego Bay waterfront, creating a walking trail for guests and local alike. The prospects for this, Madam Speaker, is exciting. Exciting. So you can imagine having a promenade that would carry you from Freeport all the way around, possibly to Doctors, possibly to even to the new park, the beach. Yes. So all of this, Madam Speaker, will be done. Madam Speaker, last year during the pandemic, the Port Authority, in partnership with and funding from the Tourism Enhancement Fund, completed construction of a new artisan village at the old Hamden Wharf at a cost of 730 million Jamaican dollars to facilitate skilled craftspeople producing and selling their wares directly on the terminal. That's a major investment. Major investment. You know, I don't know how people say not going on. I mean, I have the new 35,000 square foot artisan village comprising craft shops, restaurants, and performance spaces has been completed and handed over to the Tourism Enhancement Fund, which is now responsible for the theming and operation of the artisan village. That's a massive addition to our tourism product. Major. Madam Speaker, you know, I have a passion, Madam Speaker, for planned development. I think that is what Jamaica has lacked. So, Madam Speaker, the PAJ is now focused on the creation of a new town centre in Falmouth, combining the conveniences and aesthetic of a modern urban town with elements of the existing Georgian architecture. The multi-year project is to be developed as a public-private partnership located on 50 acres of land owned by the authority adjacent to the terminal and to the existing historic town. The new town centre will feature modern mixed-use spaces, including commercial and housing facilities, a civic square, town commons, a promenade, mini parks, and a redeveloped dragline. And for those who don't know what the dragline is, it's a major drain, earth drain, that runs through the town, and it is problematic because I gather it is lower than sea level, and so sometimes it floods. So that will also be addressed. So the people of Falmouth in Trelawney knows that the government, even in the pandemic, is working for them. And they, and as you have pointed out, they have made the right decision. Because we intend to make Falmouth, with all its rich history, a premier destination for cruise and attractions, as well as a center for lifestyle and long-stay leisure, given, Madam Speaker, the rapid expansion of middle-income housing in the parish.
You've been listening to Prime Minister Holness making his contribution to the budget debate. After the break, we'll come back and wrap up today's edition of Both Sides of the Story.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
4:45. The Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce presents MIIC Live on Both Sides of the Story with Dervan Malcolm every first and third Thursday at 3:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. Learn more about the manufacturing strategy, modernization in trading, foreign direct investments, and much more, right here on Power 106 FM. This broadcast of MIIC Live is brought to you by the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce.
I've got a hard road to travel, a rough way to go.
¿Qué hora es en español? Son las 5 menos 14. Quelle heure est-il en français? Les 5 heures moins 14. 现在地点了5点加14分. 14 minutes to 5 o'clock in the afternoon here at Broadcast House 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Good afternoon to all working Jamaicans tuned into Both Sides of the Story here on Power 106 FM. It's a good time for us to ask ourselves, how productive have we been today? How productive have we been today? Let's catch the closing. Well, let's catch as much of the Prime Minister's presentation as we can before we have to wrap today's edition of Both Sides of the Story.
Free cruise terminal before the cruise sector was shut down due to COVID-19 concerns in April 2020. Can you imagine, Madam Speaker, what Port Royal would be like now if we had 1 year? But we will recover, and we will recover stronger. A second phase of works to construct a new museum, restaurant, and entertainment facilities will be completed in 2021-2022. Madam Speaker, we are not stopping the investment there. We are going to continue to invest. Madam Speaker, throughout the process, care has been taken to integrate the community in the development process. A new promenade linking the terminal to the town has been constructed. Several projects were undertaken in the town, including the rebuilding of the old ferry pier, rehabilitation and painting of sections of the Brotherhood building complex, repairs to roadways and drainage systems there, curbs and sidewalk improvements, and installation of new signage. These initiatives were a model of multi-agency collaboration, including the PAJ, UDC, the Tourism Enhancement Fund, the National Works Agency, the NWC, the National Housing Trust, the Jamaica Social Investment Commission, the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, Social Development Commission, and the Jamaica National Heritage Trust. And the Member of Parliament. But that is how we do development. That is how we do development. We bring everybody together. Everybody is on the same page. We divide up the work and we supervise it to make sure it gets done. We follow up. Madam Speaker, with these developments, Jamaica intends to be a leader in the cruise sector in the hemisphere. We have 5 terminals, each featuring a range of attractions in proximity, and all are near to an international airport. Montego Bay is ideally equipped as a home porting facility, and this is a segment of the cruise sector that we intend to grow significantly. In fact, Madam Speaker, we are all just speaking in advanced thought that we are looking to develop other cruise ports, facilities, and in effect, Jamaica could become its own itinerary. That's correct. When we are finished, we could become keep our fingers crossed. Don't say too much until it's well planned. But that's the thinking. All our facilities can accommodate the bunkering of fuel while the vessels are at berth, and Jamaica is currently the only country capable of bunkering LNG, the fastest growing fuel type for the new generation of cruise vessels currently being built. Madam Speaker, cruise tourism can have great socio-economic impact if we position ourselves to maximize the returns. The artisans, tour guides, the agriculture sector, our creative talent, adventure and cultural experiences, and communities can benefit greatly from cruise tourism. Madam Speaker, with a 30-year concession agreement in place for the Kingston Container Terminal, the Port Authority has turned its attention to developing land holdings immediately adjacent to the KCT in a near-port logistics center. The PAJ has constructed a 200,000 square feet logistics facility built to international logistics specifications on a section of land immediately beside the main entrance to the Kingston Container Terminal. Given the centrality of security to the development of transshipment and logistics in Kingston, the PAJ has also constructed a state-of-the-art security complex with its own container inspection facility, housing the Jamaica Customs Agency Contraband Enforcement Team and the U.S. Counter Security Initiative. Madam Speaker, recognizing the potential of the large secondary and tertiary trained workforce in Portmore and the greater St. Catherine region, the Port Authority has developed 160,000 square feet of modern facilities designed to attract the top BPO companies in the world. A specific goal is to encourage these companies to commit to higher value added work, allowing Jamaica to move up the value chain in the global outsourcing sector. When added to this existing 50,000 square feet building at the site, which has now been upgraded, the new complex forms a unique campus environment ideally suited for the global outsourcing sector. Constructed at a cost of $21 million, the campus is expected to accommodate up to 4,000 new employees. Construction of the building is complete, and the external works are expected to be completed in May 2021. Tenanting is at an advanced stage. Madam Speaker, we have commenced the packaging of the existing portfolio of assets in the Montego Bay Special Economic Zone and the Portmore Informatics Park, with a view to listing them on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. So all those people who are eagerly investing in stocks, and Madam Speaker, since this administration, we have added new interest and life to the stock exchange. between 30 and 40,000 new shareholders have Jamaicans have now gone on the stock exchange. In other words, they have a new way of securing wealth in stocks. And we did that. Ordinary people brought them. And the idea presented by the leader of the opposition regarding ESOP, that is something that we can look at and work together on that, because it's something I believe in the ownership of assets. It's not just owning land, but it's also owning companies. They are also means of production. So, Madam Speaker, the PAJ is in this process now of packaging these assets into a portfolio, and will be taking them to the stock market for persons to buy into them. And these are very good assets. These developments have been very successful, consistently enjoying occupancy levels of over 95%, and have been used to catalyze the development of the BPO sector in Montego Bay and Portmore. Madam Speaker, listing these assets on the stock exchange is consistent with the government's stated policy of using the capital markets to socialize wealth and allow for broad-based ownership of the productive assets of the country, like the highly successful IPOs of Wigton and Trans-Jamaica Highway in the previous year. We will enable all Jamaicans to participate in ownership of a sector which is poised for even greater growth. Madam Speaker, we are making the investments as we reimagine the future of the tourism and global outsourcing sector, ensuring that Jamaica recovers faster, stronger, and better than before. Madam Speaker, I now turn to
You've been listening to the presentation by the Prime Minister in the budget debate. That's as much as we're able to share with you as we get ready now to wrap up today's edition of your program, Both Sides of the Story, here on Power 106 FM. We thank those of you who have stayed with us from the beginning and others who have joined us since we started just after 2 o'clock this afternoon here on your program, Both Sides of the Story. Thanks to Ivy Liz May. She says, big up Jamaica to be the first to get the vaccine. The Prime Minister is trying his best, she says. I think you're referring to the COVAX, the vaccines received under the COVAX program, Jamaica being the first Caribbean country to receive a batch of vaccines under the COVAX facility. Angela in Toronto, Canada, hello to you as well. Thank you very much for tuning in. Kareen Evans says, yes, I know where my child is. He is in his room doing what he does best. Class finished from 2:30, so he's now taking a nap. Well, thanks for sharing, Kareen. Inez Campbell-Brown in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Always good to have you join us. Norman Hines, good afternoon to you as well. Can we thank you once again for the privilege of serving you on yet another edition of your program, Both Sides of the Story, for today, Thursday, the 18th of March, 2021. The moving finger writes, and having writ moves on, nor all your piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all your tears wash out a word of it. All things being well, Both Sides of the Story returns tomorrow afternoon, 2 to 5. Till then, this is Dervan Malcolm reminding all of us that every day is an opportunity to do better than yesterday. Take care.
The rain gets deeper every day. Yeah, yeah. I've got a hard road to travel and the rough way to go. Said it's a hard road to travel and the rough way to go. But I can't turn back. My heart is fixed. My mind's made up. No, I'll never stop in my faith. We'll see me through. One more thing. I dream dream of home. Far beyond the sea, where there is love, peace and joy for me. Oh, in my eyes I see it. Troubles and danger for me, but destiny, where my destiny leads me, I must go. Yeah, yeah. I've got a hard road to travel, a rough way to go. Said it's a hard road to travel, a rough way to go. But I can't turn back. My heart is fixed, my mind's made up. No, I'll never stop. My faith will see me through. Oh, help me somebody, yeah. Help me somebody. Somebody please get me right now.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
5 o'clock.
News, comprehensive, powerful.